Hello, today I'm going to review HumbleCuber's FTO mod service. This will be done in one take, so apologies in advance for any pauses or stuttering I may have throughout. So this service is offered in the speed solving forums through his thread, and I got mine and unboxed it on my Twitch stream yesterday. So let's take a look. So here's the puzzle. Out of the box, I have to say, on the stream I was fairly unimpressed. The tensions were all uneven, and it had a propensity to have edges just pop. One pop I had on stream had a triangle piece somehow blow through my bed's comforter, draping off my bed, which I couldn't find until Ben sent me this clip that showed one piece just flying backwards out of the puzzle. On FTO. Oh, jeez. Yep. And that probably is related to the bad center stocks. Okay, so if you're unaware, the Landline FTO comes with two varieties of center stocks, short and long. You can notice this here on the left, where the kind of base of the center has a longer base that touches the core, where the one on the right is much shorter, and there's a gap between the center and the core. So that's what I was mentioning in my video about like the difference in the center stocks. The long ones are a bit better for stability and assembling the puzzle. The modded landline I received had the shorter center stocks, the shorter center stocks, which I thought might have been contributing to these numerous edge pops. But I do know that many other top solvers use short-stocked landlines with modded pieces, so I wanted to try some things out. The first thing I tried out was to move all of the pieces of this puzzle onto just a stock landline FTO that I had. Just take all these pieces off and put them on this core. And to my surprise, it felt much better on this puzzle already. I thought it was just because my stock core had the longer center stocks. But when I did more investigating, I was honestly shocked. I unscrewed the centers and found this hardware here installed. So if we take a look at this, we have 7 just stock landland springs, and then 1 mystery spring here. Additionally, only 6 of the 8 centers actually had washers installed. 2 of them were just completely plain with the stock spring and no washer installed, like a plain typical landline. Washers aren't a huge deal for performance, but it was promised as part of the mod to keep the puzzle lasting longer by not having springs scrape the insides of the centerpieces. Because I have modded an FTO before, I had plenty of washers to spare to fix this problem, but this is not really great if you're new to FTO and need a working FTO and want it to last a long time. The springs here were a much bigger issue, as not only were 7 of the 8 springs just stock springs, the one that was actually replaced here, this one, if my camera would focus appropriately, this one is just, not the recommended spring that is supposed to be used. This is what it should look like. This is from a Papermate Inkjoy RT300. These are just basically pen springs. So according to HumbleCuber, the spring that did come in this is from a Chi Wushua set, and it is kind of cut in half to apparently make it fit. So here's the problem. These are incredibly tense. So just as like a quick demonstration here, sorry for the blurriness, I don't think my camera is going to quite adjust, but these are very tense springs. I'm trying to push on them and I'm not really getting much give from them at all. They are tenser than even the stock springs are, which if I apply the same force, they definitely have some give to them. The reason, though, people typically switch to these Papermate springs is because they have lots of give to them. If I try to push in on these with the same amount of force, there is a lot of room to give on these particular springs. So the fact, though, that there were 7 stock springs that are, moderately tense, and then 1 incredibly tense spring was likely the cause of that gigantic spring-loaded pop that happened on my stream. So Humble Keeper did mention to me that in the future he will be using these penmate spring or papermate springs that Ben recommends for using in the FTO, but only because the Bushra springs were discontinued. There's clearly no reason why Humble Keeper did this particular spring swap other than to say like a spring swap was done and potentially charge more for the service. And it's just really another piece of evidence why there was little attention to details given to this puzzle, even if this spring swap was appropriately done. Like I had still only had one spring swapped in my puzzle. So the puzzle that I do have here before you now is the Humble Keeper puzzle, but with the springs that should have come in the puzzle in the first place, with the Papermate Inkjoy springs. And, it's definitely not bad anymore. I'll show some turns here. As you can see here, there's still quite a few catches, though. Oh, jeez. Wow, this is worse than even I was trying to do before. Looks like I'm getting some better performance out of this side of the puzzle right now. Anyways. That gives you an idea of kind of how it turns now. It's much better than it was when I got it originally. It feels a lot more stable and has reasonable speed when I turn it. But before it was just tight and spring-loaded. So when I got the puzzle, Humble Keeper recommended that I use lubes like weight 5 or thick silicone to slow it down and make it more controllable. Having never broken the 3 TPS barrier on this puzzle, I don't think I really needed to make this puzzle more controllable, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they needed to slow down their FTO in any way. I didn't opt to pay for the top tier option, which the puzzle set up and broken in with lubes for $5 more, and I'm really glad I did not pay for this, as I would probably just have to clean up all the lube out myself. I did use Silk and D&M to set up this FTO, as I do with my other FTO and most puzzles that I use. All of this work together makes this puzzle usable for me, but as you saw when I was executing some sledges earlier, there's still quite a few catches with the pieces of this puzzle. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the pieces here. Okay, so on the left here is Humble Keeper's FTO, and on the right here is my FTO that I modded myself previously. So let's start with the triangles. So here is a triangle from Humble Keeper's FTO. One thing you can notice right away, the feet are basically untouched with very little sanding work done. Additionally, there's a lot of kind of unrounded off sanding here, which is kind of hard to pick up on the camera because of the black plastic here and black background. But if I hold against my hand maybe, you can kind of see that just like there's really not a lot of rounding off that's being done. And from the front of the piece, it honestly doesn't even look modded at all. There's still very sharp points to each of these triangles, which I think is the main source of a lot of the catching that happens with this puzzle. On the contrary, I think I might have over-modded my triangles a little bit, but they are rounded off a lot nicer on each sides, and there is some room and less pointiness going on with the triangles here, which helps prevent catching. Additionally, the feet are modded a little bit here, so there's... get the light to show it here. This V shape here is rounded off at the points, where Humble Keeper's is nearly as it is on a stock FTO, with kind of the full points of the V here, which I think also leads to additional catching as well. If we take a look at the edge pieces, I actually think that Humble Keeper's edge pieces were modded reasonably well. The primary pieces kind of had a lot of the sharp parts taken off quite a bit. You can't notice a lot of the bumps right here that were on Humble Keeper's FTO. I'm sorry, that were on like a stock FTO. But I do think that the edges here, there's not a lot done with these tips here. Like these are still quite pointy and again, not very rounded off well at all. There's a lot of still very sharp, jagged points here on the tips of these puzzles. So that's quite unfortunate. Whereas if you compare it to what I did, you do have more roundedness going on here. So it's just a much smoother experience and less, a lot of the parts that are here sanded off here on the mid base here are nice and rounded off as well. Oops. Whereas on Humble Cuber's FTO, it just kind of looks like almost like a knife was kind of like taken to the plastic, and it's still quite jagged. Obviously, like a lot of this will smooth out after hundreds, maybe thousands of solves, but it's a bit disappointing to see that there wasn't a lot of attention made to like really round off a lot of the parts here that were sanded. Next is the corners, and I think the corners also were done fairly well. They look pretty similar to mine. So on the left again is Humble Cuber's, on the right is mine. You see a lot of the similar parts that were sanded off looking from the base here. Corners are left kind of pointy on both to keep corner twists from happening. What I think what maybe was disappointing here is you can see that when you kind of take this side profile here, this part here, if I can get the camera to focus, this part here is still quite pointy, which causes, I think, a little bit of catching to happen too. Whereas my FTO really kind of like smooths out this as best it can, given that this is like a two-part piece here. But it definitely is a lot less prone to catching on other pieces for sure. Finally, the center pieces on the inside. If we did take a few of these pieces apart here, get a better look. So when we look at the centers that are done here, what we can notice is there's quite a bit that's taken off kind of on the edges here, and it makes quite a large gap in between the two centers, which I also think is a big factor leading to many edge pops with this puzzle. If you compare that here, there's definitely some sanding done on mine, but the center stalks come out much deeper than they do on Humble Cubers, where they're kind of really sanded off and less pointy, which I'm sure probably helps some with performance, but also leads to a lot of edge pops. Finally, one other point I wanted to bring out too with Humble Cuber's work is that the consistency from piece to piece is quite staggeringly different. I'll see if I can find something that really illustrates this. But we can see here with these two triangle pieces, this one barely looks like it has anything taken off this side here. And this one even looks like it has less taken off when you compare the two. And if we compare these two sides here, these actually look relatively similar, but this definitely looks like it has a wider area of sanding, if you can see where the light sort of hits that area. You can also kind of tell here that there was more sanding done on this piece, sort of on like the base here, than there was on this piece here. So what I do notice, and you saw kind of with the execution I had earlier, is that like different parts of the puzzle have different catches and different feels, just because really there was not a lot of uniformity to the modding of these pieces. Not a lot of attention to detail was really given to the mod job of this puzzle, unfortunately. One other note is that I did pay an additional $7.50 for new stickers to be placed on this puzzle. I'm really not impressed with the stickering job that was done, though, at this puzzle. Many of the stickers are quite uneven, as we can see with, example, this sticker is quite kind of crooked on its piece. And just kind of in general, when you look at it from a distance, it just looks like the stickers are quite uneven and crooked. Compared to sort of the job I did. Even if these are chipped quite a bit, they do look a little bit more evenly placed and more uniformly placed. Additionally, there are tons of bubbles everywhere. And if I can kind of use the light to show that, each side seems to kind of either have bubbles like on that bottom triangle there, or just a lot of creasing like on that middle top triangle, or folding of stickers even. The gray side I know had one somewhere on here. There's a bubble down here. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to see with the lighting, but this sticker looks like it was like repeeled and placed several times, so there's a lot of folding going on here and chips on this sticker already that weren't even caused by the few solves I have done on this. But yeah, if you just kind of look across all the different sides, you just see like poorly placed stickers, or very bubbled stickers, or like already kind of chipped or peeled stickers from maybe replacing the stickers a few times. So really just overall not terribly impressed with the $7.50 stickering job. Kind of wish I just ordered stickered myself and placed them myself. So in all, this puzzle costs $35, and I paid an additional $7.50 for the stickers and then another $5 for shipping. That would bring the total to $47.50, but I was given a 10% discount in order to exchange for making this video to review the puzzle. That brought the total down to $42.75. But regardless of the whatever price, whether it's $47 or $42, that is the price you'd expect for a premium puzzle. And hopefully you can see from my review, what I received out of the box was not even close to a premium puzzle. If I were new to solving FTO and didn't have any experience, with the puzzle before or know what parts would help make this puzzle better, I would honestly just prefer solving a stock land puzzle. As an experienced FTO solver, I was definitely able to fix many of these issues myself. However, with FTO rising in popularity and there not being many good options for good performing FTOs out of the box, I feel like many are going to be looking for pre-modded options like the service HumbleCuber is offering. And I have to say that if you are looking for your first FTO, you should give a hard pass on this service. It's just not a good option out of the box for first-time solvers, and it's not even a premium product either for experienced solvers in any way. If I am to give HumbleCuber any credit, I would say he did about 60% of the modding that I would deem necessary for this puzzle to be fully set up. I spent somewhere between 10 to 12 hours total on my own puzzle, and while I'd probably take much less time to set up a second puzzle now that I know more what I'm doing, it's still a significant time investment for me. I value my time highly, and paying $40 to $50 for what appears to be about 3 to 4 hours of work on this puzzle is definitely value to me. If someone asked me to make my FTO the way I set it up for someone else, and I would probably ask for at least $100, probably close to $150, and I wouldn't blame them for saying no to that offer. So from that perspective, this incomplete puzzle is at least good value to me, I suppose. But if you're new to FTO and you're looking for your first puzzle, I would honestly just recommend buying a stock FTO and swapping the springs for those Papermate Inkjoy RT300 pen springs that Ben shows in his setup video. No further sanding or modding. I think that puzzle out of the box is better performing than what I received out of the box from HumbleCuber. This saves a significant amount of money and only takes about 30 minutes or so to do the spring swap if you have a pair of wire cutters or some similar tool to cut the pen springs that you get from those pens in half. And yeah, in my opinion, just performs better than HumbleCuber's FTO does out of the box. Here is an example FTO I have that does have this exact setup. And while it does have some catches, it's not significantly worse than HumbleCuber's puzzle, which also does catch quite a bit. So, and there are many in the community that don't really like this spring mod much. And I am, of course, getting catches because this is a completely unmodded puzzle. But I was getting similar catches, on the modded puzzle too. So, as I was saying before, many people in the community don't really like this spring mod, so you might not appreciate it. You can always switch back to stock springs, but either way, I would definitely give the spring swap a try because you might really get a decent puzzle for under $20 if you just buy a pack of pens and the stock land. So if you're an experienced FTO solver and are looking for better performance or are new to FTO and are just willing to spend time or money up front to get a good puzzle, I think you're better off, honestly, either just following Ben's tutorial on your own or to purchase potentially a FTO from Tyler Hicks, the current world best holder in FTO for just about every metric. His FTO costs $50 with an additional $5 for stickers and $20 for magnetization too. And given this is only a modest price increase for the non-magnetized one over the current FTO from HumbleCuber, I'd highly consider that option instead. While I've not tried a puzzle from Tyler myself, there's definitely images I've seen of his work, like this one I'm showing here, that show there's just a lot of detail given to the puzzle with a lot of nice rounding, just a lot of really nice attention to detail, probably better than, even the puzzle that I've modded. And the fact, that Tyler also holds the world best times on his own work speak for itself too. Clearly you can get world-class times with this hardware, and I cannot say the same for HumbleCuber's FTO. If you're interested, I would recommend reaching out to Tyler in the FTO fan club Discord server, where he goes by that Cuban guy. And if you're looking to mod one yourself, the Discord community itself is incredibly helpful if you have questions along the way, as I did when I modded my own FTO. So I'll have an invite link in my YouTube description if you want to join our Discord community. It's really fun and a welcoming community, and I really enjoy my time there. That being said, if you don't have the time to sink to modding an FTO yourself, I see HumbleCuber's FTO as a cost-effective way to do a slight majority of the work necessary to have a high-quality FTO. But I think that's the best I can really say about his work, unfortunately, and I don't see a high demand for unfinished products that lack this attention to detail, especially when premium options like Tyler's do exist out there. I do hope HumbleCuber will learn from these mistakes and improve their quality in making these products. If future FTOs from HumbleCuber delivered on the promised modifications fully, like the washers and springs, and actually used the appropriate springs from the Papermate pens, and the pieces were appropriately and consistently modded, I think that paying $40 to $50 for this product would be incredible value. But for now, I can really only recommend this to people who highly value their time, but are also potentially willing to do the remaining work necessary themselves. And honestly, I might be one of the only few people that fits that description. So in general, it's a hard no on getting one of HumbleCuber's FTOs. I cannot recommend it to anyone. Thanks for watching, and I hope many of you that are looking to get into FTO can find serviceable hardware and enjoy this great event. It's truly one of the most enjoyable solving experiences outside of the hardware that I've enjoyed in my whole 10 plus year puzzle career, and I do hope that you can find some good hardware and enjoy this puzzle too. Thanks for watching.